Hey everybody, this is Commander Wolf, and I have a very special video today because I am joined by someone who I've been watching for a while, the creator of the Minecraft film series Haunting of Herobrine, Halflife390. You want to share your actual name with us, or?
Yeah, I'm Luca. It's good to finally be speaking with you.
It's great to be speaking with you too, Lucas. We've been planning this actually for we were talking about like about a year now, roughly, something like that.
Yeah, over a year, unfortunately. It's taken a while.
Yeah, our schedules have not lined up lots of times. We're on two different sides of the planet, and we all have we're both pretty busy. We're both engineers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct.
I guess we can maybe just talk about our own personal lives for a bit. Like for those of you who don't know, like I'm an engineer at Texas Instruments. That's kind of what I do as my day job.
hmm Yeah, so I work for ARM. You may or may not have heard of them. IP semiconductor company, based over here in the UK in Cambridge. That's their headquarters. Yes, that's what I do professionally.
I forgot that you also was a semiconductor too. Like that's what Texas Instruments is for me as well. I'm
Yeah.
the equipment engineer for like ion implanters. So like I'm the one who like helps with the equipment that shoots the ions into the wafers and stuff.
Oh, nice. I think you're one of our customers actually.
Really?
Or you're one hop down the supply chain. I'm not sure, but we definitely you definitely use our technology at some point.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But most of the planet does because we use processor IP in pretty much everything. But that's beside the point.
Cool. Very cool. Well, we're kind of here today, because I'm a big fan of this film series, especially like with just like how surprised I was of how high quality it is, and so I kind of wanted to maybe just get him in here and we could like talk about this crazy thing that has kind of brought us together, and so yeah. I have a list of a few questions, but I get the feeling that we're gonna have a lot of new questions come up as we go through this, so we'll see how this goes.
Sure, no worries.
So I guess the first question is, how old were you when you made the very first Haunting of Herobrine?
So it was a very long time ago. First Haunting of Herobrine came out in 2012, near the start, and I was between 12 and 13 years old at the time. I was
Wow.
13 when it was released, which when I back calculated that before this interview, even I was surprised.
I'd
But
always
yeah,
guessed. Yeah, I was like roughly in I think middle school. Is that it?
yeah, I was in year 8 of secondary school here in the UK. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very early start. I think I actually saw the original upload before it got taken down. I remember like it was I think I was watching it when we were. It was around Halloween. I turned out all the lights. I even brought in one of my brothers in, like two of my brothers in to watch it. And it's like, ooh, that was kind of spooky. Like that.
Yeah, I get there's so many comments on the director's cut that's replaced it of people talking about the nostalgia they get and watching it at Halloween and it freaking them out and being really quite a scare for them. So it's it's cool to see you had a similar experience.
Yeah, I do remember like whenever I watch like the director's cut, like I feel like there was definitely a lot of silence in the middle that I don't remember being there. That was because the copyright claim, right?
Um, the silence really is the silence has always been there. So the copyright claim
Okay.
was for the intro music, as far as
Oh.
we're aware. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me explain properly. To this day, I'm not 100% sure what happened. I've come to terms with that fact. I probably never will. And I'm not. It's not something I'm looking into. It was such a long time ago. But there's one of two reasons, or perhaps both, as to why it got the strikes it did. It's either because of the music at the introduction, or because of the AdFly links. Because remember back in the day, everyone was using AdFly
Oh
to get
yeah.
extra revenue from links clicked. So obviously we had links to probably the Facebook
Oh.
page at the time or something. I can't remember. Or maybe other videos on the channel. And everyone, especially I remember in the Minecraft modding community, everything was an AdFly link. I think there were rules back then on whether you could do that or not. So I think at one point it wasn't allowed to have AdFly links in YouTube descriptions, but everyone seemed to have them. So I guess it didn't seem like a problem. But perhaps when the video got so famous, then that got obviously noticed. So that it could be that, but it was never made clear. The other more likely scenario is that the original soundtrack, Innocent Moon from Silent Hill, which is a very creepy tune, huge fan of it, and that's why I used it. And I'd seen it in other YouTube videos before. It was used in one of the original Herobrine videos, like the one that sort of put Herobrine on the map, like sort of put the idea and the concept out there. The story of what happened there. That video used it, and that's where I got the inspiration from, obviously. And that video too had some sort of strike eventually, because if you go to that video, which is there, still up, the music is gone though, because the YouTuber basically silenced the video or something like that. So, but in my case, that wasn't what happened. The video was actually blocked, and I can still see it in my sort of content viewer on YouTube, but it's not available for anyone to watch. So it's one of those two reasons. But going back to your original question, that's what we believe the issue was, and it was just the intro music. The rest of the film is exactly the same as it was as the original one, the director's cut and the original. There really wasn't much of an audio component to the original film, which obviously looking back on it is makes it look very amateurish and very silent and almost boring throughout most of it. But we didn't want to have voices on it, and I guess I had no drive to put sound effects where they probably should have been compared to the second one. So it just was a very silent film. It always was.
Yeah, I guess that must have been my brain misremembering things. And I mean, yeah, admittedly, yes, the first film hasn't aged the best, but like the fact, like, it was the start of something so much greater. Like I don't think any of us could have expected the second film to have turned out as amazing as it did. Like, it's like that's actually kind of like why I was so enthralled by it. Like, I remember seeing that first film, like, I was subscribed to your channel, like, I kept seeing your update videos, like, it's coming, I swear. And it's like, all right, but like, I've seen like so many YouTubers who had, like, especially animation YouTubers, like sprite animations, like, said they would do their projects and they either had to cancel or they just disappeared without saying a word. And so I kind of got used to the fact that, yeah, people, like, when they make these promises when they're younger and they have more free time, and then as they get older, they just can't fulfill them. And so I was like, okay, this is probably just gonna be one of those things that never sees the light of day. And then, like, things like 2018, like, I was in one of my college classes, and like I suddenly looked on my iPhone and I see a notification. It's like, wait, it's here? And then I looked at the timestamp and I was like, 2 hours? What? And I just sat down and watched it. I was like, this is like above and beyond anything I expected. Like just looking at the first film, like, the jump in quality is staggering.
I mean, thanks for saying all that. I'm glad you appreciate it. It's always nice to hear what people think of it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say there. Like, I am the kind of person who really wants to follow through with the things I'll say I do, because you're right. So many people out there are all talk. They make these empty promises. They say they'll do these things, and like you said, they don't see the light of day. And as someone who does a lot of projects in their spare time, I don't like letting people down. I try my best to have a policy where if I say I'll do it, I will do it eventually, even if it takes 5 years. I can't say that for everything, unfortunately. Some things really have to slip through the cracks. But Haunting of Herobrine, because of the publicity it got, the first one, I really did owe it to everyone. I couldn't live with myself if I said so many times the second one's coming, don't worry, and even put out teaser trailers and things like that years before the final thing actually materialised. I couldn't sort of let all of you guys down, and all the people who have supported it, and all of the people who were involved in it, or just fans of it. So that really gave me the drive to make sure it was finished. And yeah, it took way longer. But in some ways, because of the delays we had, that's why the final product ended up as good as it did. If we released Haunting of Herobrine 2 back in 2013 or 14, when we were originally working on the first version of it, it would have been nothing compared to what you've got now. It's only because it was delayed so long that we had so much more time to work on it, and it went through redraft after redraft. And of course, my bank of skills and software tools and everything had improved so much that I could produce something that is of the quality as it is. So it's a bit of a it's an interesting one. It was a long delay, but I hope, and I like to think that it was worth that delay, because what you got was something way more than what we originally anticipated.
Well, I can definitely say that I feel like it was worth the wait. It is still unfortunate, like how the first video, like since it got taken down, like originally it had over 1 million views, and like now it's still like only around like a few thousand. Like the algorithm just has not picked up your videos again, which is just a darn shame.
Yeah, it is, but I want to say it is what it is, and I kind of expect it. So the first one, when I re-uploaded the director's cut, I did kind of have the hope that it would restore what I once had, because the original video was nearly 3 million. It was
Wow.
2.7, I believe. And I thought, I could just upload it again, everything will be fine. But the moment had passed, the algorithm had come and gone. And even though the fan base of the ideas and theories behind Herobrine and Minecraft was still there, like you said, it never really got picked up. When it came to Haunting of Herobrine 2, at first I was kind of expecting it to do very well, because I thought, well, it's a lot better and longer than the original, and Minecraft is still a big thing, so hopefully it'll do well. But of course the delays kept on stacking up, and by the time it came around to 2017, I didn't care too much really about how it was received in terms of raw numbers of views and likes and stuff. It was a personal challenge and a personal achievement to get it complete and out there and finished for the fans. However well it's received, and however many views it gets, I'm not bothered with. I kind of expected it to do nowhere near as well as the original one. So much time had passed, but I'm okay with that. The main thing is that it's done, and people like you have got something from it and have enjoyed it. So that's a tick in my books, I guess.
That's admirable. Actually, I remember seeing, I think it was like one of your Facebook posts. Like you had like a 6-pack of Mountain Dew that you weren't going to drink until you finished. It was like 5 years.
Yes, yeah, the old cans of Mountain Dew that were stacked up in the back of my room. Yeah.
Oh,
see,
my.
Mountain Dew isn't really a thing over here. That's the thing. So but me and my family, we see it in the films and the movies and stuff. And so whenever we do see it at a shop or something, it's a bit of a novelty. So it's like, oh yeah, some novelty Mountain Dew, because it tastes really nice. But it's a bit more of a novelty drink around here. So it's That was the sort of the theory behind that, because you don't really see the cans either. It's usually just a plastic bottle. So when we saw the cans, we were like, got to get some of those. Got to drink it on a special occasion, and that was the special occasion.
Well, that's cool. I didn't expect such an interesting story about Mountain Dew.
Yeah, totally random, I know, but I didn't know you were going to bring that up. But I thought I might as well mention it.
Well, I guess since we're talking about it, like what inspired you to make a film about Herobrine in the first place?
Okay, that's a good question. So I've always been a fan of horror films and the horror genre in general. Don't know why. I guess I'm one of those people who like to be scared. So I've watched many horror films over the years, with my family as well. My family are a big horror film fan, so I've sort of brought up on it, almost desensitized to a point. I like things like found footage films, Blair Witch Project and the likes. I know there's quite a lot of low quality found footage film these days, but just the concept of that sort of paranormal investigation, and it's from the point of view of the camera they're holding and stuff like that, that was always quite entertaining to me. Of course, at the time, I was a huge fan of Minecraft. I've been playing it since alpha. All my friends had it as well. We were running servers. I had videos of my own server on the channel. That's what the channel was for originally. And then the third component is filmmaking. I've always been interested in the sort of the creative arts, as well as like the science and engineering side, which is what my actual career is. But I've always been interested in creativity, especially when it comes to movie making. And I did movie making as a hobby in my spare time, but in real life, so live action things. So I guess Haunting of Herobrine came out of a culmination of all three of those things that were happening at the time. So I'd seen other Minecraft horror movies on YouTube before, and can't remember what the specific catalyst was now. We're talking over a decade ago now.
Right.
But all those ideas came together, and I thought, let's make a Minecraft horror film. Of course, the idea of Herobrine was alive and doing the rounds at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been, we watched that original Herobrine video about the Brocraft stream and all of that. And I thought, yeah, that would be a great antagonist. That would be a great point to make a story. And so, yeah, all those ideas came together. And I asked my friend Ben at the time, who I was running the server with, and I thought, you want to make a Minecraft horror movie together? Just something small, just something fun, just something to go alongside what we're already doing, which was running the server and doing videos on the server and stuff like that. And that's sort of how it was born. It's quite a small scale project, to be honest, compared to the second one. And then of course HH2 was never even a concept back then. We didn't think about making another one. We just wanted to make one and see what happened, kind of thing. HH2 only came out of the popularity of the first one.
Mm. I see. Yeah, I can't remember what led me to the original video myself. I can't remember. I don't think it was my first introduction to Herobrine. I think I was kind of getting into Minecraft, and so I think the recommendeds of Herobrine related things were showing up, and I think it eventually led to your film, and that's that's where my appreciation of Herobrine came from, actually, I think. And also I had watched people play horror games like PewDiePie and stuff on YouTube, but I was never a big horror guy myself. But I really got into, especially the second film, I really got into the tension you were able to build, and the surprising level of amount of jump scare that you could get out of me from a Minecraft film. It's this doesn't look like real life. It's very blocky, but somehow the way you executed it and layered built the tension with the music and with the shot composition resulted in some actually genuinely unnerving segments, which is really impressive in this type of format.
Yeah, thanks for that, because as not only as a content creator, that's a lovely thing to hear, but horror specifically, it's things like, I'd say, horror and comedy. It's really hard when you're making it to know how it's going to land. If you're writing something comedic, it might be funny to you, but how well are the audience going to receive it? And it's a similar thing with horror. It's I can come up with these concepts to make it scary, and these potential jump scares and the tension that builds up to it, and I can find a really good piece of music and do some great VFX work, but is it actually scary? And when I'm sat there editing it, I think, well, it kind of is in principle, but I'm not scared of it. I made it, so I can't really judge. I can't ever judge. And unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of a production team or beta testers or focus group to really have a look at it and say, oh, that's good, but it could be better by doing this, or actually that's terrible, you need to change it to this. So it was really difficult for me to release that and sort of be like, yes, I'm confident this is going to induce scares into the viewers. It was always a gamble, so it's nice to hear from people like you that it does actually work, and my intention of building up things like tension and suspense and making things creepy really paid off and did actually work. So thanks for that.
Of course, and that is definitely a feeling I felt for myself whenever I made things. It's down right now. It should be back up, I think, by Monday. Once Sony's copyright claim is disputed. I made a big old video essay about Demon Slayer Mugen Train. I went through how it is an incredibly in-depth film on so many different levels. But the thing is, I had all these ideas in my head for over a year that by the time I was making it, is this actually really insightful to people and something that they didn't think about, or is this actually very obvious? It's become common knowledge to my head, to the point where I'm watching it and it doesn't feel insightful because it's not insightful to me anymore. And it's are people gonna like this? And so far, while it was up, people did seem to respond to it pretty well. So hopefully once it's back up again, I can really see how I did on it. But I definitely get that feeling of it's just something that's been in your head for so long that you can't really tell how it actually is going to be perceived by someone else.
Yeah, exactly. It's a challenge, and you can watch it over as many times as you want, but you're never really going to know until you get a large amount of people looking at it and giving their feedback. So yeah, I know the feeling.
So something that I've always been very curious about, when watching it, because the concept of Herobrine is the reason why he's scary is it's an NPC that exists in a single player world that shouldn't be there, and it's the soul of the not just dead brother who doesn't exist, and like they like infect your world in ways that that a mob normally can't do. That's kind of why it's scary. But in the format of this film, it's almost like it's just naturally within our own world. Like people can't just make and do things the way they normally can in Minecraft. But in Herobrine, it's still talked about though, like as if he's like a big deal. So like in this world, is Herobrine like just considered a really powerful and infamous specter or demon, or is this meant to actually kind of be still within like the realm and rules of Minecraft itself?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Minecraft really is just the medium for storytelling. It's just the medium I've selected. Like I said, I used to be a hobbyist filmmaker, and those projects that I used to work on were all in real life because that was the medium for that. Haunting Herobrine is different because I chose to use a video game as the medium for storytelling. Now, the main reason for that obviously is it's so much easier than doing things in real life. You can do anything in a game, in a virtual world, and you don't need budgets for practical effects,
right,
and a real actor, and sets and all of that. So yeah, it's very much a case of it being a medium. But of course, Herobrine is Minecraft. He's from Minecraft. He's a horror story surrounding the world of Minecraft. So it wouldn't actually make sense to do a story about Herobrine in the real world anyway. So it's kind of the combination of those two reasons. But to comment on your original point, it does mean that the original essence of what makes Herobrine creepy and terrifying has been taken away somewhat. Because I agree that the real part of the Herobrine story that is scary is the connection to the real life. It's the idea that this is something that exists in the game that shouldn't. It was never supposed to be put there, and there are links to the creator's dead brother, etc., etc., and receiving emails on forums telling people to stop investigating and all of that. That was all that's the interesting part. So I will admit that with my film series, I've completely stripped that away. That element has gone. But in order to make a sort of a Minecraft horror film, a sort of a found footage style thing, that was necessary, because then otherwise you'll be breaking the fourth wall and making it a live action piece or something. So yeah, Herobrine really is just sort of like a demon, like a legend of some sort of powerful demon that exists in the world. But the fact that it's Minecraft is irrelevant. It's supposed to be like our real world, ghosts, demons, legends, and people who try and uncover these things and investigate them. Does that? Yeah, I hope that kind of sort of answers that question.
Yeah, it does. Like that's the answer to the question that I've been asking myself for years now. I appreciate that. But while it does like strip away some of those elements of horror, I would say that your depiction of Herobrine is still one of the scariest, if not the scariest I've seen. Because like everyone else is kind of used like, oh, it's like the boss character and like the strongest mob, like in their stories and narratives, like Reanimator's series or like the Haunting of Herobrine maps. And like that's not a bad thing. Like that's fun in its own way. But like your film series, like better than anyone else I've really seen, captures the essence of horror that is supposed to be at the core of what Herobrine is. So I'd say you did better than most.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. Yeah, I do agree what you mean. When you see things like Herobrine's mansion and the idea that Herobrine's just a mob to kill with a sword at the end or something, that definitely was kind of the thing I was trying to avoid, because the fear and the horror comes from the unknown and the unnatural and the creepiness. When you make Herobrine just another enemy to defeat or something, it's not the same. Doesn't hit in the same way at all. One extra point I will add though was there was some thought at one point between me and some other people who were working on the films of doing a Haunting Herobrine, potentially a Haunting Herobrine 3 or Haunting Herobrine 4 that would take the series to the next level and be more of a live action style, where it would be about the true story of, well, it's like true story, but you know what I mean, the original creepypasta, the original story of Herobrine, where it does have links to the real world. But it was more just something to talk about. It was never serious, of course, and it's not something that's been talked about in a long time. But it was always a fun idea.
Very interesting. Well, yeah, since you brought that up, we'll jump ahead in my list a little bit here. Like just based on the way the film ends, and also like some of your comments to the fans, like there was an intention to make a third film, which I believe was going to be like the finale for the series. But you've always stated things like whether or not it'll happen, can't say. I kind of have a pretty good idea, I think, what your reasoning for it is, just based on my own experiences of projects going by the wayside because of life. But could you maybe, I guess, explain what those reasons are for why it may not happen?
Yeah, so it's kind of a multitude of things, but the biggest thing is just the passage of time and the changes that have happened. So yeah, we're talking about Haunting of Herobrine 1 that came out over a decade ago, and Haunting of Herobrine 2 came out in 2017. So it's sad for me to say, but we are talking about things that were a long time ago now. And
yeah.
I haven't touched Minecraft since Haunting of Herobrine 2 came out. That was the last thing I did in Minecraft.
Wow.
As far as I can remember, because times change. I finished it just before starting uni, and university was a huge chunk of my life where everything was very different. I was in a new town with new people, doing new things every single day, and I didn't have time for stuff like Minecraft and movie. Like a lot of my hobbies had to go on hold, not just movie making, but everything else I do. And that's just the way life goes, unfortunately. So it's a combination of time passing and life changing and things like that. And the other thing was sort of harps back to what I mentioned earlier about getting Haunting of Herobrine 2 finished. For me, was a huge personal goal because I don't like to let people down, and I try my best to finish the things I start. And so getting it finished was the most important thing. What happens after that, whether I continue the story, whether I make a number 3 or number 4 or whatever, or whether I make other Minecraft films or whatever, wasn't important. It was just a case of keeping the promise, getting it finished and getting it out there. And obviously it took so many years to get to that point. When it was done, and I sort of could close that book, kind of. I mean, yeah, maybe I'm being a bit too forthcoming by saying closing the book on Haunting of Herobrine, but for me, it really did feel like that because I could sort of breathe that sigh of relief and know that it's done and I finished what I started, I've got it out there. But yeah, when I got to that point, I wasn't thinking about carrying it on, and I haven't really thought about it since because it's been, like I keep saying, it's been so long since then. And I guess you could also say, it didn't receive the same fame and views that the first one did. There hasn't really been as much outcry for a number 3, nowhere near as much as there was for doing the second one. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have the necessary motivation to make another. And I had other things to focus on, other projects, uni of course, and etc. So I doubt there'll be a third. There is supposed to be a third. The first one was made in isolation. We didn't make the first one with any intention of making any more, but when it received the fame it did, and everyone said we should make another. When we developed the second one, we decided, actually this is going to be a bit of a series. We can make a third one. In fact, going really far back when we were doing the initial discussions of Haunting of Herobrine 2, I remember us distinctly talking about Haunting of Herobrine 4 at the time as well. Of course, it was just ideas, it was nothing serious, but it was just, then we could reveal this, then we could reveal that. But like I said, that was back then, and although there's definitely supposed to be a third one to sort of complete the story and answer a lot of those questions, or at least provide the information to help answer those questions. Mm-hmm. I have to be honest, I very, very much doubt it will happen because that's just the way things go, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, and that was a conclusion I came to, I think, very shortly after, maybe only a year after seeing the second film, if not just after watching it the first time. And it's I could tell, just from the way of how the quality of it coming out, it's you set out to do this because you promised you're going to do it, even though the film ends kind of on a cliffhanger to say, hey, there's definitely more to it. There was never a verbal promise by you to say there will definitely be a third film. And so my thought process on it was always, you should never feel any obligation to make a third film because you fulfilled your promise. And even if it's kind of a bit disappointing that they're not going to get more content of this quality as well as to get some answers, it's still really good on its own. And even a lot of good horror films, though I'm not a big a consumer of them, I even know that a lot of them kind of end on like those ambiguous notes where like the antagonist is technically still at large, because that's like the main point is to scare the audience, not necessarily to tell a full complete story. So like I think you could be proud of yourself, and like if you ever feel the drive to do it, I would love to see a third one, but never feel like you should be forced to make it, because you already did so much for this community, more than anyone ever expected.
Yeah, exactly. That's another way of putting it, and it's nice to hear that. It really was an obligation to get it done, both to other people and to myself. And like I said, I'm glad I made that happen. We lost a lot of people along the way. Back in the days of Haunting Herobrine 1 and the genesis of Haunting Herobrine 2, there was a lot of people working on it. By the end, it was only me. The last, I'd say 1.5 hours to 2 hours, which is most of the film, at the end of the day, really was just me.
Wow.
We had it was just, again, it's just time and people drift away and things like that. So that was that. But yeah, you're right. I never said I'd make another 3. It was just it's suggested, from the holes in the plot. But not the holes in the plot, but the missing pieces.
Right.
But it's something that isn't necessary. Like you just said, it's a piece of media that can be enjoyed on its own. Haunting Herobrine 2, it's not something where you're sort of left at the end thinking, well, where's the next bit? I need to finish it off. I need the closure, and that's quite an important thing. Obviously, there's people like you who really dig into it and try and uncover all the secrets and really decode the story and stuff. Who, unfortunately, we might never get all the answers you're looking for. But you're right. It's good that most people can enjoy it in isolation, and I don't have to have this sort of obligation hanging over me to produce more, and I can move on with other projects.
Of course, yeah. Like I do basically an annual rewatch of this series every year around Halloween. Like both, like it's because I enjoy it, but also because like every time I was like, okay, I can find this new thing to try and find in the ARG, and we'll talk about the ARG a little bit. But like that's kind of like there were certain years where like where Haunting of Herobrine was kind of my main obsession for a few months at a time. It's like I was like finding new things each time and learning new things. Like, oh wait, that leads to this and to this, and I was figuring out the timeline in my head. It's like, oh, then this all makes sense. Like you can there's actually quite a bit that you can figure out if you just pay attention to a lot of the subtle details you put in there to really fill in a lot of the gaps. Obviously, there are some that I'm just physically incapable of filling in because there's information I just don't have, but I've been so satisfied with the experience that I've been able to rewatch it a lot. I might want to take a break at some point on the annual rewatches to try and enjoy the second film more casually again. Because at this point, I'm kind of like, okay, we're at this scene. Okay, now we're at this scene. I'm just kind of, instead of watching it, sometimes I'm kind of just like scanning the screen for like more details I haven't seen.
Well, I'm really glad I'm also able to provide that kind of experience as well, because the vast majority of viewers aren't doing what you're doing, and I put all these extra things in there for people who really like to analyse and decode things. So I'm glad there are people such as yourself who pick up on those things and gain enjoyment out of looking into it and trying to uncover all those secrets. So it's great that you're able to do that, and that we're able to talk about it as well.
Yeah, I'll probably be working on this for a few more years at this rate. Kind of going back in my list here. Like I once I found like the second film, like fell in love with it, I dug around the internet for all the stuff I could about the series, and I found one of your old forum posts. It mentioned how there was some people who actually were like hindering the creation of the second film. Is like that's something you would be willing to talk about in any way, and like how much of the production was affected by this?
Yeah, sure, I can go over that. Like I said, this was all a long time ago, so it's not like I'm really disclosing anything I'm not supposed to. But essentially, the story goes, the main people working on it, of course, was me and Ben. I don't know if you've ever heard me mention Ben before, but it's MBK Legend is his IGN. And
okay. I know that name.
So me and Ben were... So this was after Haunting Herobrine 1 was released, a good few months, and we were... So this is like mid to late 2012, and we were getting lots of feedback of lots of people asking for a sequel, and that's sort of the genesis of Haunting Herobrine 2. We were discussing the success of the first one, and we said, we've got to capitalise on this and make another. for one reason or another, someone commented on the first one saying they really, really enjoyed the film. They thought it was great. And they said they thought it had a lot of potential and they really wanted to be involved with a second one. And for some reason, we reached out to this person and said, yeah, sure, okay. You seem passionate, you seem interested, and I can't, this was ages ago. I can't remember exactly what was said, but maybe they had something to offer, or they had experience with films or something. I don't know. But for some reason, we reached out to this guy and we made a connection, and we basically got this guy on board, and we let him help with the production of the second one. And I think one of the main things he offered was a paid hosted server, because of course back then we didn't have money to buy server hosting. It was all through Hamachi and our own networks. And stuff like
yeah,
that.
I remember Hamachi.
So yeah, good old Hamachi, that would always fail every time we turn it on.
Yes.
Bane of our life that was back then. But so he said, you could use my server, right? It's 24/7. It's going to have it's higher RAM and et cetera, et cetera. You've managed all the plugins and everything. So that made our lives easier from that standpoint. So we teamed up with him and we had a couple of brainstorming sessions. We talked about the series. That's when we talked about potentially doing a 3 and a 4. It was just sort of blue sky ideas at the time. And then eventually we developed Haunting of Herobrine 2 further. We had the script, we had the screenplay, we started building the sets, and we built the sets on this server. So this is a server that I'm not in control of. This is a server this random guy on the internet is in control of. And you can probably see where this is going. So we built the sets for Haunting of Herobrine 2, which was the hotel. Of course, this is nothing compared to what you see in the actual.
Yeah, I remember the director's cut version of that. Like it's like night and day.
Exactly, that's what it was. That was the set, and that was those scenes. So that teaser trailer were filmed on that server. And at first, we thought it was all a good idea, and we got nothing to lose. But that went south quite fast. I can't remember the exact chain of events, but I think one day we logged onto the server. Well, I think one day we tried to log onto the server and it wasn't up or something. So we're like, well, hold on a second, we're here ready to do production, carry on shooting or whatever, and we can't get access to the server. So we shoot a Skype message to this guy and he doesn't reply or whatever. And then eventually the server comes back up and it's a different map and there's a bunch of random people on it playing just normal Minecraft. And we're like, yo, what's going on? Where's the owner? And no one on the server can really help us. And we keep messaging this guy over Skype and basically he kind of just blanks us.
Oh.
So we lose communication with the person who's holding the assets of the film. And, I can't remember how much time goes by, a few weeks, a month or so. And we do eventually re-establish communication, but nothing, to not much good news. He says, there's stuff happening in his life and he's got problems with his server or something. And he says, it'll be back online next week or something, so we wait till next week. Nothing happens. It's still not back online. And we do have a back and forth with this guy, but he's really slow to reply. And then at one point he says, yeah, my laptop and my computer's gone to crap. I've got to completely clean it off, reinstall Windows, etc. And, I don't know if they're excuses. I don't know if this is real and what really happened. But the long and short of it is the relationship broke down for no apparent reason. We just lost communication with this guy. It was sporadic, and then eventually he never replied. We gave him time. We sent him lots of messages. We said, if you can't do this, if you can't be involved, that's okay. Just let us know. Send us the world. Because we thought, well, you can just send us the world, Never ended up sending us the world. So there was a point where we just had to cut our losses and say, we can't work with this guy. The investment we put into the assets of the world have gone, because we're clearly not going to get them back. Don't know if this guy's genuinely got problems or whether he's just screwing us around. Really, never found out about that either. So then we just sort of had to go back to square one, rebuild the worlds ourselves on our own server, not make the same mistake of relying on critical infrastructure from other people. And that basically set us back maybe 6 months, a year or something. I can't remember now, but that's one of the huge events that led to HH2 being delayed so long.
Wow, that's crazy. Like, man, like losing basically a year's worth of production. That's wow. I mean, again, as you said, it probably did lead to everything being of a higher quality in the very end. So it's kind of seeing the silver lining, but even still, like, I can imagine it was not a very fun time for you, and you were not probably very pleased at all at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So we were really pissed off because, like I said, we put investment into that and we trusted this guy. In retrospect, maybe we shouldn't have. Maybe we were putting our faith in some randomer on the internet for no good reason. But at the time, for whatever reason, we trusted this guy. This guy seemed passionate. Well, maybe not passionate, but he seemed engaged and interested and wanting to help and wanting to be a part of it. So yeah, maybe that was a mistake on our part. But yeah, it led to a lot of frustration and, of course, lots of delays. But it was definitely a blessing in disguise because, again, if we had produced the Haunting of Herobrine 2 we had at that time on that server with that worlds, with that script, it would have been a far cry from what we ended up with. So maybe it was a good thing.
Yeah. Talking about, I guess, productions, and now we know, like, basically, like, probably about 4 years of production went into the final version that we saw, roughly, right?
Yeah, ish. I think sort of 5 years in the making, but obviously stop and start. And
aside from the screenplay and the first draft, like, everything else had to be kind of restarted, essentially.
Well, this thing, everything was dropped.
Everything.
Like, it's gone through so many iterations, everything from the world to the script to the screenplay.
Okay.
Yeah, at one point we had it all, with this guy in this server, we had it all ready to go. Most of that went, we restarted, yeah.
Okay, wow. So, like, I guess, how long, like, did each stage of production take, both for, like, the first film and also for this, most specifically for the second film?
Sure. So, again, we're talking a long time ago, so
right.
It's hard to get specifics, but Haunting Herobrine 1 was, like I said, very small scale, didn't take too long at all. The prerequisite sort of research work, initial investigation, was looking at what was already out there. So I spent a bunch of time watching Minecraft horror movies, everyone I could find on YouTube, because there wasn't that many at the time, and I looked at them, looked at what people were doing and thought how I could make one, what were the good things, what were the bad things, pulled out all the ideas I liked and sort of got that down. Then created our own story with Herobrine. I remember we made the storyboard actually in Minecraft using signs. So we didn't even have huge documents or screenplays or anything. It was just each of the scenes put on a different Minecraft sign in the actual worlds that we ended up filming in. And in fact, I had to cover it up with dirt blocks because it's in the background of some of the scenes. So you can maybe that's another challenge for you. Watch back HH1 and see if you can see the big line of dirt, and that's the signs
amazing. I'm gonna look for that next time. Absolutely.
But yeah, so there wasn't, as you can tell, there wasn't too much planning involved for that, because some signs in the game would suffice. And then maybe about a month or so of filming and editing, probably less. Like you said, it's not very long, and there were obviously there's so many mistakes in it that we realistically should have refilmed but just didn't. And every single time we watch it back, it's just like how many issues there are and how many things I should have redone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, that didn't take long. But Haunting Herobrine 2 obviously was an entirely different beast. So I'd say, several months after Haunting Herobrine 1, we'd begun the idea of doing a number 2 and actually started being serious about it. However, Ben, who I was working with at the time, wanted to make a film using his idea, because obviously Haunting Herobrine was sort of my idea and Ben helped me with it. Then he turned around to me and said, well, I have an idea for a film and you can help me with it. So we ended up making The Fugitive, which I don't know if you've seen, but it's another Minecraft film I've made on my channel.
I do remember seeing I think I might have watched it once before. I believe so.
Mm-hmm. It's really nothing special. It's even shorter than Haunting Herobrine 1. Dare I say, even lower quality. There's nothing too special about it.
It's like 6 minutes, right? Something like that?
I think it's about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I can't remember. I haven't watched that in ages. Yeah, it's nothing special, but it's a project he wanted to do, and I thought, he helped me with my one, so no worries. I'll help him with that.
Sure.
And we ended up making that. So that took a few months. That was the first thing. Then once we got that out of the way, that's when we sort of said, right, okay, let's try and work on HH2. That's when we came up with the original scripts. That's when we built the original set and we reached out to this guy, of course. And that was sort of the end of 2012. That's when we got the teaser trailer out. So production really was underway at that point. Then we hit all those problems I described earlier with the guy. He messed us about for a good 6 months, I would say. Eventually, like I said, we cut our losses, we gave up, and we started from scratch again. We rebuilt the world ourselves, so we're sort of talking 2013 time now. And we also, we reworked the script and things as well at that point. But then other projects took over. I became a lot more focused and interested in working on my actual channel outside of the film aspect. So it was all the gaming videos and sort of doubling down on that, because that's what we really wanted to do with it. And so we did that for a while. Then me and Ben kind of drifted apart over time. So we're talking sort of 2014 time now. And of course, Ben was really my right-hand man when it came to these kind of things. But that's what happens. People change, lives change, time progresses. So that sort of demotivated me a bit because I had less people working on it. My other friend Matt, who I probably haven't mentioned before, he sort of took up that spot though and sort of became more involved with it because he wasn't involved with the first one. But of course, us two wanted to do other things as well. But I still, like I said, I always wanted to finish it. It was just a question of when. It might not be now, it might not be tomorrow, but it will get done eventually. So I began working on it again. But by sort of 2014, 2015 time, I basically did another rewrite. I sort of scrapped everything, but apart from the bare bones, the sort of the skeleton of it and the essence, some of the ideas.
Wow.
And that was because the original version was, I was talking 2 years old or something, but at that point, 2 or 3 years old. And a lot had changed. Not just what I wanted to make, but I've become inspired by so many different things. I've been exposed to more the horror genre. I've been exposed to more about movie making and just filmography in general. And so I thought, I can do much better than this. I can do a lot more. And what you see in the final Haunting of Herobrine, that all came about during this time. Everything changed from software, CGI, the scripting. Before we had a couple of Word documents, then upgraded to proper script writing software with proper screenplays and production scripts and storyboarding every aspect of it with screenshots and everything. So that's where the quality jump really happened if you were to focus on one point in time. So that was sort of 2015 time. Finished all the redrafts, built the set. Obviously the set took quite a long time because there's a lot of aspects to it. And of course, we wanted to build a hotel and then have the locations within it to use. So, there are parts of the hotel that aren't even really ever used in the film, but we wanted to build the full thing rather than build it like a set, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Then we needed, because at that point that's when we decided we're going to have voice actors, because in the original Haunting of Herobrine 2 I was going to voice like the main character, like John or whatever, and I think Ben was going to voice the hotel manager. Didn't even have the name Pablo at that point. So we thought we can take this further, because I'm not really a voice actor and I didn't really want to do it. I did back then, but as the years passed, I thought, well, I can do better than this. I can find people who actually want to do this and who can do this. And of course, there's more characters, so I need more voice actors. So I thought, let's just do this the proper way. So I put out 2 forum posts. I think one was on Planet Minecraft and one was on Minecraft.net, I think, or might be the official Minecraft forums, can't remember, and asked for people who were interested to be involved. And that went really well. That was sort of August 2015. And then a couple of months later, going into 2016, we had a whole bunch of people ready and willing to do the voice acting. We then filmed and edited, I remember, about the first 45 minutes towards the end of 2015, and that was all going well. And if that schedule sort of continued, we would have had it finished around the end of 2015, start of 2016. And it would have been pretty much at the bar of quality that it is now. The final delay came from college, because that's when we started college, me and Matt, and that obviously took up so much time. This had to sit on the back burner. We had serious levels of education to focus on,
right.
And exams and all of that. Of course, that had to take priority. There were bits and pieces of time we had free where I was determined to get it finished. Like our time off for the Easter break. but it just never happened. It's never materialized. There was always more to do. There was always exam prep to be doing or whatever. College really just took over those 2 years, I'd say. The only available time would have been when college finished and university began, which was summer 2017. So me being determined to finish it and knowing that I had 5 years of uni ahead of me and I'm not going to be able to do it then, I made sure I kept that summer free and thought, this is the summer I get Haunting of Herobrine 2 done and uploaded and finished finally. There's never going to be another shot. So that's what I did when college finished and I had that time off, sort of a lot of free time before uni. I sort of worked really hard, doubled down and got it finished. And that's sort of where we're at. That's how the story goes. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. That's crazy, the amount of effort you had to put in. And when you mentioned the voice acting, I finally I realized that this is a question I probably have had for a while, but didn't actually think about until just now. How did the recordings go? Did you have the scenes filmed out and they had to then voice over the recorded footage to time it right, or did they record it as you did the walking scenes and stuff, so that way it was all timed out properly?
Yeah, good question. So obviously the full screenplay was done before anything was filmed. So we had the screenplay, we had the world built roughly in parallel, and then the storyboard came sort of after that because then we needed the screenshots from the world. And then of course we rejigged the screenplay a little bit to fit in with things that had changed as we storyboarded it. But so we had all the scripts ready and we had the world, but we didn't do any filming. Then I sent out all of the forum posts for voice actors, did the hiring process, more like auditioning process. We had a couple of different people for the same role. We worked out who was who. I think at one point the guy who voiced John actually wanted to go for Pablo, and then we said actually we could swap you two around. I think it would be better. They had all their lines. They recorded everything, sent it back. I did a quick check over it. In hindsight, like you said in your review, I could have been a bit more critical and got them to re-record chunks of it, because there's bits and pieces that do sound a bit like they're being read off a script and could have been done better. The issue is I'm not paying these people; they're doing it voluntarily. So I do. There's only so much I can kind of be like, this is shit, do it again, or this, you're not saying this right, or whatever. There were a few instances where I did have to say, you're not saying this word right. Can you please re-record it and say this word right? But then there were instances where I felt I'd done that almost too much and thought, I could just get away with it. It's okay.
I totally get that.
So I had all the voices first, all the voice files. Then it's a case of matching the audio up with the video. So I then went to record. We recorded the scenes, and then during the editing process, the scenes were cut down in accordance to fit in with the audio. And that's okay because there's no mouths moving in Minecraft.
One of the benefits.
So it's very easy to sync things up. I can, and if I look it back and say actually, the text isn't going with what's on screen. They're talking about this part of the hotel when they haven't reached it yet. I can always just refilm it or cut the start of the video so that they're walking closer to the bit when they actually start talking about it, etc. So it's a case of matching the raw audio up with the video and changing the video. Just as a consequence of that, which I find interesting, is, like I said, we did about 45 minutes of the final thing in the end of 2015, and then of course the final editing took place in summer of 2017, and I noticed that I only noticed some of the audio was wrong years after they've recorded it.
Oh no!
About a year after I recorded it, so I actually had to get back in contact with either Electromite or Vote Scott, I can't remember now, and basically say, this thing you recorded for me like over a year ago, thanks, but there's a bit that's wrong. It wasn't a bit that was wrong, it's a bit that was missing. It was a line or two that was missing, because of course there's a lot of dialogue and I didn't go through it line through line. And it was sent through multiple audio files, so I checked that each audio file played, and then I checked one or two of them all the way through. I guess I just assumed that the rest were fine, but there were a couple of sentences missing. And I thought, damn it, I can't get away with this because it's like mid conversation and it's not going to make any sense.
Oh no!
So I had to reach out to these guys and say, look, sorry to be annoying, but do you think you could just re-record this section? And they did. But
that's amazing.
They said I'm away at the moment, and I'm not going to be back in front of a good microphone for a while, so it's going to have to be on my phone or something. And unfortunately, there wasn't really much I could do about that. And we're coming to the end of production here, and I wanted to make sure it was out and done. I didn't want any more delays, so I did settle for some subpar quality audio. So actually, there are a few chunks of audio in the film that clearly are lower quality than the others, because of that situation, which you may or may not have noticed, but.
Honestly,
if you haven't, that's
I don't
great.
think I
If you
noticed
have.
it.
But yeah.
That's very interesting. Like, personally, I don't know if I ever really noticed a massive change in the mic's quality. Like, a lot of what actually determines the quality of your audio is the room itself. So, like, that's why I have all these packing blankets and memory foam in the corners, like, because that's the bass sound. Regardless of how good the microphone is, if your bass sound in your room is garbage, it's gonna pick up garbage. So
exactly.
maybe they actually found at least a good padded room, or they got a decently padded up closet to make the audio. Because honestly, I've never really noticed a stark difference in any of the audio quality in mid sentence or anything like that during the finale of the film.
I think if I point it out, you'll know.
I probably will now. Now that I'm a voice actor and I've done a lot of voice work, I probably would because whenever I watch it now, as I mentioned, I've kind of been the analyst of looking for the stuff. If I actually sat back and really watched the film as a normal audience member again, I probably would pick up on that audio. Oh yeah, there it is.
Because we're only talking a couple of lines, and there's background noise, there's music, there's other things playing, and it's only one of the characters. The other characters is fine. So and I did a bit of treatment to it to get rid of background noise and stuff. So it's kind of I did my best to sort of hide that fact. But if you know it's there, you'll know it's there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's fine. So yeah, that's how the voice editing and that works in the editing process. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Something that a question I've had for a really long time is in the description for Haunting of Herobrine 2, you mentioned that you were going to upload the map for the second film, and you even found the map for the first film, and we're going to add it there so people could download it and explore it. And I've always wanted to see this. One, because Haunting of Herobrine 2, part of the ARG, literally has map coordinates, so I wanted to go to those map coordinates. But even without the ARG, I wanted to just go in and appreciate the maps, because especially the second film, that hotel is incredible. The amount of effort you all put in there. I wanted to actually explore it and really see all the little details that you all added in, because it's so impressive. And I was wondering, it's been a long time and it hasn't been put there. Is there a reason why the maps have never been released?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, I'll say they're not coordinates, so you don't have to worry about that.
Wait, what? Are you? Wait, what?
Second of all, yeah, thanks for your positive feedback on the maps. The maps and the sets are one of my favourite parts of the whole thing. They really bring it to life, and spent such a long time, obviously, building them. We use World Edit or whatever, but most of what you see is hand placed, because World Edit and plugins etc. are great for regular structures that you can stack and repeat. But a lot of the internal furnishing is, a lot of the polish is done by hand, and so it did take a while. And like I said, compared to the first draft of Haunting of Herobrine, what you see in that teaser trailer, it's oceans apart. It took a very long time. Mm-hmm. A lot of effort went into it. So yeah, it's nice, and it's nice that people appreciate it, and it'd be nice to let people appreciate it. But like I sort of said a few minutes ago, it's not a set per se. We built the full hotel. The full hotel is there. Okay, bar the rooms, the hotel rooms. There's nothing really behind most of those doors, but that's because there's so many of them. But every other room of the hotel is fully done. It's not a set where what you see on screen looks genuine, and then if you turn around, it's all just trees and stuff. There's nothing actually there. It is the full hotel. And then what we did is, once we had the full hotel built, we then chose areas of it for specific scenes. Obviously, some areas were built purposely for the screenplay, for the story to make sense, but we thought, right, we need them walking down a corridor, let's pick this one, let's pick that one, or whatever. So when I wanted to release the maps, I really wanted to release the Terror Hotel map, not the Terror Hotel film set, because in the process of making the film, I did have to turn it into a film set. There's scaffolding, there's redstone everywhere, there's command blocks and things, and bits and pieces that aren't supposed to be there in the release. So basically, the long and short of it is, I need to do some work on the map before I could release it. I need to get rid of those things. I need to patch some holes and things like that need sorting before I could actually release it. And yeah, basically, I just never got around to doing that. Realistically, it's not too long of a task. The other thing was there were bits and pieces dotted around the map, and I need to go around finding the coordinates for those because I obviously it was a server and I use warps to go around to different places, and I need to get the list of coordinates for where all the different other set pieces off that are off, that the parts that are off the actual hotel, like the village we used at the very start where he meets the old man, and there are a couple of scenes that actually take place outside the hotel, stuff like that. Basically there was a bit of work that needs to be done. I just never got around to doing it, and so I never did that, never uploaded the maps. And like I said, when I finished Haunting of Herobrine 2, it was kind of like a sigh of relief, finally done, can close the book. And I guess I kind of forgot about it. Because like I said, realistically, it's not too big of a task. I have had lots of people ask for it. Nowhere near as many as back in the day with the first one. And every time I see those comments, I do think, oh yeah, I probably should have done that. But then at the same time, I think, God, this comment was a year ago or 2 years ago. Is it really worth it? If I do this now and put it up, are people really going to care? Also, I don't know what's happened to Minecraft now. I know it's fractured, the code base, and you have a Java version and a non-Java version, and now you have new engines and stuff. So I don't even know if the version of the world I'd release would even be compatible with a new client, whether you'd have to use a backdated client or whatever. So
Minecraft actually Minecraft has a cool function where you can, like within the loader, you can boot up any version of Minecraft ever. So whatever version of Minecraft you made it on, people can play it on that very easily.
Right, and is that still true with the whole Bedrock versus Java versus whatever version? Because I haven't followed that at all. I just know that there's a lot of contention in the community because there's multiple versions and they're not compatible and they phase one out or something like that.
That I don't know, but I know anymore. Bedrock is like the console versions, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if that would matter too much. I didn't even know if you could actually import worlds from Java to Bedrock. That's not something I was ever aware of. If it is something you can do, but at least for the Java players who are all on PC, I believe your world should be able to be imported without any issue.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, it's something I need to look into and probably should have a while ago. But yeah, it's something I never got around to doing, and if I want to say if there's demand, I will do it, but I don't know. What would you class as demand? You asking me for it, one other person asking me for it, I'm not sure. No, I do feel guilty because it's not a big task to do. It's just I need to sit down and do it, and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely make it clear. I'm not demanding you to do it. I just really, really, really want it, and I've wanted it since the movie came out. I wanted it for almost 6 years, almost 7 years now. So it literally, there's one man on this planet who really, really wants it.
To be honest, if there's anyone who needs it, it's you. You deserve it. Not for the clues. You're not going to find. I think I said this before. You're not going to find anything that's going to lead to any revelations in it. It's purely just to enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, I guess I do kind of owe it to you to get you those. So maybe I should do that.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't care if there was no clues in there. I just wanted to appreciate it. But it does kind of blow my mind that that one of those ARG elements, it literally has X, bunch of numbers, Y, bunch of numbers, Z, and then it's the same format as Minecraft's coordinates. So in my head, it's Minecraft coordinates, yes. But it sounds like to you, whenever you said that years ago, I thought you meant I won't find story elements. But you're saying no, they're just not Minecraft coordinates at all.
Nope.
What? I've been living a lie for years. Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll seriously consider that then, because you do. I think you do deserve the maps. So I've got so much going on at the moment. I need to find a time to sit down and dig them out. I need to find where they are, and because of course the current version of the map will be the hotel that's burnt down.
Right, I was wondering about that too.
Yeah, so I'll need to, but I'll have the backup somewhere, which is the original one, and then need to make sure there's no signs with the storyboard on anywhere. But things like that I know are out of shot that I could just leave there, but would ruin the fun of the map. But
yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely do it when you find the time. But speaking of the ARG, there are so many elements to this film that a lot of people definitely did not know about. Like just looking at the views for the garbled transmission video, like I haven't checked in a while, but I'm pretty sure it's still in the double digits. It's not even close to 100 yet, is it?
I haven't checked it either, but yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah,
It was such a happenstance thing that I knew what to do with that. Like years ago, I had watched an Easter egg video, like top 10 like Easter eggs, and like it was like the Portal 2 Easter eggs. Like, hey, there's this thing. It's like, oh, that's cool. I had to dig up that old video to find the program to get it because I didn't know it by name. But once I heard it, it's like, I've heard something like this before, and it's like, it's the RX SSDB, and so it was like that's what really made me realize like how just how far you took it, and like how there was definitely potential for a third film. It's like no one puts this much effort in for just a simple one-off, like for just to fulfill a promise. Like you went like above and beyond with that, and like even to this day, like, I feel like I'm stuck at some parts where I think it's Morse code. It probably isn't Morse code, and I need to just translate it differently. But like, how many different ARG elements did you put into this film?
Well, it's a really difficult question to answer. To be honest, I wouldn't really call it ARG. ARG for me has connotations of like the really big scale things, like going out into the real world, and you phoning telephone numbers, finding other people and piece of paper stamped to lampposts and things like that. I would say it's more along the lines of Easter eggs for a start. Obviously there's loads of Easter eggs of just things I like and think are cool and stuff like that put in there, but I think of it more along the lines of the story sort of spilling out into things that are still linked to the media. So, you know, like you said, a separate YouTube video, which is the garbled transmission, and the Facebook posts and sort of the messages that are linked with those. It's things to decode and analyze and investigate to sort of progress the story. But yeah, I don't know if I'd call it specifically an ARG. It's because obviously it's alternate reality, but it's not alternate reality really. It's more just to help expand the lore of the actual game. Sorry,
gotcha.
The actual film. I'd say it's impossible really to put a number. Like I can't say, oh yes, there are 23 things to find. It's not really like that. There are a lot of things packed in there, all kinds of stuff. There are things that are really obvious. There are in your face obvious. There are things that are absolutely not. There are things that are easy to find. There are things that no one will probably ever find. Really obscure references or nods or messages to things that people will never know or don't know. But it's my style, and I'm inspired, as you could probably tell, heavily by Stanley Kubrick and his approach to filmmaking and his approach to themes and messages within films and using film as a medium to say things and do things and stuff. So it's abstract in that sense anyway. So it's really difficult to talk about how many things there are, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair. I kind of had a feeling that there would not be like a definitive answer, especially since I imagine you don't even remember every single thing you probably put in there, do you?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like before this interview in preparation, I've been going over all my old documents on what I did and why I did it, because there are definitely things where I thought I remember doing that, and I can't specifically remember what the meaning of that was, and to remind myself, I think, oh yeah, okay, I see what I did there. maybe that's a bit embarrassing, but it was a long time ago. I've moved on and had 5 years of uni since then. So yeah,
yeah, no, like it's easy to forget a lot of stuff like that. Like I'm also guilty of it too, just because like it was a long time ago. You're a very different person back then than you are currently now. So you can't remember everything you've done.
Yeah, and of course things change, as we said before. So like some of the things in there aren't, if I was to make the film again now, or to make a number 3, I wouldn't have done or would have done differently. Or some things I look at and think that's really dumb and I shouldn't have done it or should have done it differently. But yeah, like we said, that's time, and that's what happens as time goes on.
Yeah, like for me, like I always want to keep finding new things, because it sounds like there is definitely, like just from your comments and the other videos, there's definitely a lot I still haven't found. Like I found that random Lost reference on that one sign there. That was I never seen Lost. Like I was googling the numbers. Like, oh, it's a Lost reference. That's cool. But like
go watch Lost.
Go and watch Lost.
Best TV series you'll ever watch.
I've heard mixed things about the ending, and I technically know what the twist of the ending is, but even still, I think I probably would enjoy the mystery, like the atmosphere of it.
Oh yeah. Not to go on a tangent, but like you're obviously the person who likes analysing things. You like complex plots with a lot of things going on at once that interlink. Then Lost is absolutely for you. So yeah,
Gotcha.
do go check that out.
I'll definitely give that. Find some time to do that at some point. For like my main goal has always just been find garbled transmission 2 of 2. That's my end goal. Is like if I find that, I can die happy. I can leave this series and never come back. I still can't find that dang thing, and I've tried like all the other RX SSTV like audio files and like stuff. It's way more upfront. It's very easy. Like, oh, there's a QR code, scan that, found that, or it's literally playing in the footage. Okay, that's easy to find. But this last one has eluded me for 6 years, and I just can't find it. And I know you're not going to tell me, and I don't want you to, because like that would ruin the fun, obviously. But like, it's driven me insane. There were points where like I was just constantly thinking, like, what scene? Where can I look next? What's up with the present? Why is there an owl on one of these? And now I have the coordinates thing that aren't actually coordinates, and I gotta think about that.
Oh god! Well, I'm really glad you're having fun with it, though, even if it is frustrating. Because honestly, when I was doing all of this, I did think that there's quite a high likelihood no one is going to see any of this and no one is going to care. But I'm not making the film for that. I'm making the film for other reasons. So I was okay with that. But the fact that you've come this far and you've done this much is amazing, and it's really humbling that you've sort of taken this riddle I've made, and you're opening it up as I hoped someone would. And it is definitely worth saying you've gone above and beyond. The SSTV stuff, well done for that, because in fact the Portal ending you were referencing, that's where I got the original idea for SSTV. Same one, because I remember there's a way you can encode images in sound files using slow scan TV, and that's where I was introduced to that concept. But yeah, you've done very well either way. And I will say, of course, talking more story-wise, with the absence of the third, you're never going to be able to really decode everything unless you make a lot of conjecture.
Right.
But you've done a very good job with what you've got, and I'll watch back your analysis and your review and stuff recently, again, in preparation for this. And I would say there are still some things you can deduce with what you've already got. There's still some links you can make and some elements you can uncover without anything new. So if you are still interested in continuing this quest, there is more to get, and you've got the tools to do it, definitely.
Yeah, I appreciate the compliments. It's been a nightmare sometimes. I just was lucky enough to have the most random trivia information from watching like random videos or watching MatPat over the years. I was like, oh, I can do this and this and this and this. And then like I had a train of thought and I just lost it. What I don't remember. I don't know what it was. I was gonna say something. It had something to do with like I think like solving things. Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna make a video like kind of going over in my head and like what I believe the timeline of events are, both like that in the films, but also the things that are talked about that took place before the films. Yeah. And I feel like I have a pretty decent idea of actually how the plot progressed and what's kind of happening. Like it took me like I don't remember what viewing it took me, but I realized like whenever like John's like up against the obelisk and that orb comes in, I thought, oh, that's a cool transition. But it's like, wait a minute, orbs, spirits, that's a spirit, and I'm just and it explains more things about kind of what's happening. It's like, oh my god! And like, and the funny thing is, like, the only mention of orbs in the second film is like when like they're walking off into the forest and the sound effects are overtaking them. It's like you're trying to hide it, but it's like that was totally intentional. Like, that's like it's the most unique transition in the whole film, and it's done for a reason.
I really admire your attention to detail, and that's definitely the kind of thinking you need for this kind of stuff. You need to pick up on those little details, and you do a very good job of it. So it's great.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it. It's kept me busy. It's entertained me. I still have my folder of like all the images and things I've found and all my ideas, my attempts at decoding what I think is Morse code and the garbled text that it comes out as. It's like, this ain't right. I'll be doing this probably for a few more years before I ever get tired of it. My end goal is garbled transmission 2 of 2. The moment I find that, I think I can be satisfied. I'll just gotta find it.
So I don't know whether part of me wants to sort of give you nudges in the right direction. That
You've given me nudges over the years, like bits and pieces. It's just like, and I don't want you to divulge too much because like at a certain point, you're basically just telling me where it is.
Exactly. You know, the point of telling stories through films is show don't tell, and it would be an injustice for me to make something and then say, well, this is what it means, or this is what you do to get the answers. That's completely at ends with the point of producing the film and saying, here you are.
Right,
So,
and that's,
yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle.
and that's why none of my questions were really about like what's this plot element, who is like what was Pablo doing in that one scene when he was talking with Herobrine. So like I obviously I was because I wasn't gonna get answers for on probably most of them because like we our few comment chains we've done, you're very much a show don't tell, let the story tell itself type of person. I wasn't gonna like ask questions that were not gonna get an answer because what's the point?
Exactly, yeah.
Well, this was a lot of fun. I kind of got asked all the questions I really had for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I guess I was going to say, I mean, the obvious one is, what made you so interested in this? Because you're, as far as I know, the only person to respond to the deeper layers that are presented in the film. You know, anything other than this is a Minecraft horror film. So how come how did you get into this? Like, obviously it's a horror film and it's Minecraft, and you said you're involved with that and you watched it, but like when did you first realize, okay, there's more to this? And then what made you actually interested in doing all this investigation, and what kept you going? Because, you know, there's much bigger and maybe much more interesting things out there to decode and you know, like you say, other ARGs and stuff. So those are the two main questions I have.
For me, I kind of explained how I roughly came across the first film. Again, it's fuzzy to me, my exact chain of events that led to it. But like from there, going forward, it was mainly like me being in the back of my head, like, oh, this is something I enjoyed as a kid, and I was very curious to see this follow up. But like again, like in my head, like as the years went by, and like I'd seen more and more people like fall away and not being able to fulfill their projects for one reason or another, I kind of came to the conclusion that if it ever did come out, great. If not, oh well, I can move on with my life. So the fact that like you were one of like the first old creators I had watched when I was younger, that actually not only like fulfilled their promise, but like far exceeded any expectation for it. Like the length alone is what got me instantly. And then as I was watching it, and it's like, this is like an actual movie. The way it's shot, the way it's written, and like it's got voice acting this time around. Like it was actually, despite being in Minecraft, like, and it was an actual movie. Straight up, no, like, and it's like, wow, this is beyond anything I could have ever expected someone to just fulfill an old promise. Like out of like, it wasn't just out of obligations. Like this person genuinely loved everything that they were doing, and they had a story that they wanted to tell, an experience they wanted to give to the world, and that captured my interest. And then once I noticed those like little Easter eggs, it's like, wait a minute, like oh, there's a QR code, that's interesting. And then I heard like the noises, and it's like, wait a minute. And then once I started putting them all together on my second viewing, and I was like, there's all of this inside of it. And then when I did my second viewing, I noticed things that I didn't notice before. And it's like, wait a minute, Pablo is like really suspicious. Like, what the heck? And I was like, wait a minute. Like, he's like, oh, I gotta go find my papers. And then literally the next scene, we see the beacon relit. It's like, what? Come on. Hold on a second. Like, you were telling me these things the entire time, and I just wasn't noticing it. And it's like, there was like it just made me realize, wow, this is just so much bigger than I ever could have expected. Like, there was a level of effort in it that I hadn't really seen from most, if any, other YouTube content at the time, and it was not what I ever expected the end result of this film to be. And that's kind of why it's like, I gotta dig into this. Like, if someone put this much effort into it, then it's definitely worth looking into.
Wow, brilliant. That's again, it's really, really great to hear because, like I said, as I was making it, I thought there's a high probability most of this is going to go over everyone's head, and it's never gonna come to fruition. So it's really great that you've taken this time, and again, I'm humbled that you've wanted to dive into this thing that I've created and take it apart and analyze it piece by piece. So I'm glad, like I keep saying, I'm glad I've been able to provide that experience for at least someone.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the few, just because like I have a random assortment of knowledge to find some of this stuff. But like, I mean, the tools are there. People can learn about this stuff, especially thanks to people like MatPat. And of course, I have my own videos where I basically laid out all of my evidence at the time. I haven't accrued too much more, so like people like have the starting points if they wanted to keep going. But of course, I know I'm also a very small YouTuber. The chance of people like finding this and like wanting to go in is very low. They'd have to really get more attention, I think, to really bring in a lot of knowledgeable people to like really start picking everything apart. But like, it's even without that, like knowing that I probably don't have all the knowledge necessary to find everything, it has been very fun that I have been the sole person doing this. Like everything that I've learned, like you've given me like some nudges here and there, but everything else I have learned and figured out through my own means and my own knowledge, and that gives me a small sense of pride and accomplishment because of it.
Yeah, exactly. It really is, like you said, it's that random collection of trivia and skills and stuff. That's what's required for this kind of thing. It's not systematic. You can't sit down with a clean slate and do all this by yourself with no experience or whatever. So yeah, and I understand the sort of the pride aspect of knowing you've decoded it yourself and you've used those skills. You found the right tool and you've used it and you've got a result. So because yeah, I'm the same. I like analysing things. I love film analysis and MatPat's work and all of that. In fact, I've never really mentioned, I don't know if you kind of guessed, but the story behind the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, that was a huge inspiration for this. All the connections, all the lore, all the different things going on, that's really only only simply hinted, just the tip of the iceberg throughout the game. You could play the whole games without really knowing what's going on. So like that kind of stuff really interested me. And
I can definitely see it. I just didn't know. I couldn't remember when Five Nights at Freddy's started. It was so long. I guess it was when I was in high school, like my junior year of high school. So that would have been like 2014 and 15. Okay, yeah, actually that lines up.
Exactly. That's what the sort of 2014, 2015 rewrite kind of did. So yeah, before then, Haunting of Herobrine 2 was just going to be a surface level horror film. There would be nothing deeper, nothing to decode, no, not even any Easter eggs or anything. So it was that, and my other inspiration is, like I said before, Kubrick and his ability to tell stories through films. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it's great to hear. I guess my other question would be, what more do you want from me, sort of from my side, from Haunting of Herobrine? Because obviously there's the obvious, there's Haunting of Herobrine 3, but I don't know, is there anything more you want from my side? I don't know if I can promise, but...
The only things that I would feel comfortable asking for were again like the maps. I would love to just explore the work itself, and that's actually part of the reason why I wanted to make sure I had the right texture map, as I wanted to recreate the whole vibe of the place as well. Like so, like it's just because I wanted to appreciate like all of the effort both you and your team put into making such a massive creation. It's just so crazy. I don't even know like again, I don't want to, as I say, like, make Herobrine 3. It's like I know like you're so much busier and your interests and focuses have changed, and like to demand that as someone like that level of effort, like because as the creator myself, I also know you definitely would feel like you got to one up yourself if you did another one, and so it's like you would have to take it even further, and that would be such an immense amount to demand to someone when it's not gonna probably get like the biggest like push by the algorithm, most likely, just because that's how YouTube works. And also like it's non-profit too, so you can't like, you'd have to do it all in your free time. It's like I don't really know if I can ask so much more. Like you've given me and the few fans of us who have been watching all these years so much already. I don't feel comfortable asking for more than the maps themselves at this point.
Yeah. I'll definitely try and do that for you, because, like you said, well, like I said, you deserve it, I think. And realistically, I don't have a good reason as to why I've not put them up. So, but you highlighted a good point there about texture packs. I didn't even think about that, because I'm using a modified version of the texture pack to make the film. So
it did look a little different.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to recreate that experience without that. So I'd need to get that and upload that as well. So yeah, I will try and do that for you then at some point. I'm not going to put a date on it, but I will do it. You know, it won't be 5 years. Put it that way. I will do that for you at some point.
That's good to know. Good to know. There was one. That actually was one more question I had to ask you. If you, just before you ask me anything else, if you did.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It was like you mentioned, like how you were, like your love of film, and like you were making some live action films and stuff. Do you have any like desire to maybe make more films in the future? Not even just Herobrine ones, but like just any sort of film at all.
It's difficult. The problem with me is that I'm very eclectic and I have so many different interests and so many different hobbies, and
I'm right there with
no time to do any of it. I always tell people I sort of put my life on hold when I went to uni, because all of the things I would do, you know, I used to do in my spare time, I just didn't have that time anymore when I was studying and had exams and coursework, etc., etc. So all that had to stop, and not only does that mean years have gone by without me doing the things I want to do, it also means it takes a long time to restart all that, because then you go further, you get a job, you become an adult, you get a house, etc., and you know, normal real life takes over and stuff. And yeah, those things are definitely at ends with each other, because there's so many things I want to do, and I know there's absolutely no way I can do all of that in the time. So filmmaking and screenplay writing and all of that creative side is something that really, really appeals to me. Watching film, watching TV series, and playing video games, and exploring the storytelling aspects that they have and decoding them and analysing them is a huge thing for me. And I do want to definitely continue that in my spare time. But when it comes to actually producing stuff, I think that's something that is always going to be like a dream, stuff I want to do but never really am going to do, because I've got other dreams that I am trying to follow. And like I said, I've got other, times change, and I've got other things in my life I need to dedicate that free time to. So I really want to. Will I think anything will actually materialize? Definitely not in the short term. Maybe in 10 years' time. I really want to write a screenplay for a series, so actually go beyond film, and because series obviously open the door to all kinds of other things. In terms of like, because I'm not to labour the point, but like I really love the way series allow you to have huge storylines with ensemble casts with so many different characters that interact, which you can't have in film. So yeah, it would be my dream to write not only films but also series. But do I think that'll happen? Yeah, definitely not in the short term. Maybe in the long term, if I somehow get the time to do that, it'll be something I do. But yeah, maybe it's a watch this space, maybe it's not. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I gotcha. And like I'm the same way. I have a lot of interests that like have like changed. Like I've gone through so much in the past few years that like I've realized I had to hyper focus on one specific interest to get that out of the way before I can really focus on others. So I totally get that. If you ever make something in the future and I'm still doing voice acting and you need a voice actor, reach out and I'll audition.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to forget you, obviously. So on that subject, then I will ask you, what's your favourite piece of media to decode and analyse, and something that's got those hidden layers and got those messages underneath? It could be a game, it could be a TV series, it could be a book, whatever. What would you say is your top? It could be top one or even top three if you want.
That's a good question. Haunting of Herobrine is really the only series I have done like to this degree. I've always like seen other people do it, mainly because like when I first discovered it, obviously I didn't have the knowledge or tool set to actually really do those things like them. But then as I think it probably would be film, just because I love film in general. So to have like this deeper elements to film on top of it makes it really interesting to me. I enjoy video games as well, and I enjoy watching people's theory videos about them. But I think it's like TV shows and films. I think films especially because it's like a much more limited runtime. Like a good filmmaker at least has to do a lot to show don't tell, and they have to compound a lot of information into the subtle elements of the scene. Like in my Demon Slayer video, like I analyze like how like the score does so much work to build the emotional story and the connection, and to tell the audience things that it doesn't need to be said with words, that end up making the film feel really dense and full of a lot of information about the characters and their emotional state, despite the fact that the film is only about 2 hours and 10 minutes long or something like that, and it makes it feel like you've been with these characters and stuff for way longer. Some obviously you have, they were from the first season, but like other ones like you don't know at all, and in this moment you feel like you've known them really deeply and personally. And so seeing films that have this additional extra level of depth of like requiring the viewer to like decode and like use different like digital tools to find information, I think that really like it really resonates with me, like to see that like that extra detail in something that I already feel an immense amount of enjoyment to look at and to analyze on normal levels.
Have you, out of interest, ever watched any Kubrick films?
I haven't. I've heard like I have. I can't remember. I know he did like I was looking through his list like Clockwork. I didn't know he did Clockwork Orange. I do have I got some DVDs. Like one like a few years back, my grandfather on my father's side passed away, and like he had like a bunch of DVDs on his shelf, and like I saw ones I always heard about, like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'd have Silence of the Lambs. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch them. I also randomly grabbed Sands at Iwo Jima just because that seemed like it was interesting. But I do see Kubrick did The Shining as well, so like there is some interesting stuff that I definitely think I need to actually sit down and watch. Like these are names that I've heard for years from film buffs and reviewers, and like these are definitely classics for a reason. So I definitely want to sit down and watch some of these for sure.
Yeah, I can absolutely recommend those. I'd say Kubrick's probably my favourite director, and yeah, again, like I keep saying, another huge source of inspiration. He absolutely knows how to make multiple layers and multiple themes in something that just seems like one thing but is actually something entirely different. And like you said, they're classics for a reason. So yeah, that would be my recommendation to you. But yeah, at the same time, I understand there are so many films out there and so many pieces of media I want to absorb, but we're bound by the laws of time, and there's just not much we can do about it. So
no,
yeah,
I get you. Like I remember people like, how do you have a backlog of games on Steam? Like you get a game, you play it, you have a show, you watch it, and now my backlog of games, movies, books, and TV shows is just grown. And it's just like, okay, I get it now. I understand. Yeah.
Because I think we're a similar age, aren't we? We've sort of finished college / uni and got jobs. So like,
yeah, like I'm 26 and I think you would be around 24 or 25.
I'm nearly 25, so similar-ish. Yeah. So I feel as if we're kind of experiencing a similar thing.
Yeah.
It's that transition where you have all that free time when you're younger, and then it kind of disappears.
Right as adulthood gets you, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the story of my life. Backlog of media, and it's my aim this year actually to try and really attack that, because last year was quite tumultuous, sort of finishing uni and starting a job, and moving to a new place and everything. This year I really want to sort of dive back into those hobbies, that sort of creative side, and absorb that kind of media again.
I definitely want to do that too at some point. It's just like I've been in this kind of state of like I consumed so much over the years, like kind of like I had like ideas for things I wanted to do, but it's like I'll get to it eventually. And now now that like I had a I had like a pretty traumatic experience like around like 20 and 21, where I was like, oh, like life is way too precious and can be over very shortly. I was like, I don't want to waste my time anymore, and so like I started taking more leaps of faith, or like things that made me seem interesting, and then like I've now kind of gotten this state where I don't really want to consume media as much anymore. Like I've kind of not stopped watching a lot of my YouTube channels I'm subscribed to, and I've been like focusing more on actually creating content, because like I wasted so much time not doing that I feel like I kind of need to really just hunker down and actually put some stuff into the world for people to actually change it and to give people something to enjoy instead of just always consuming myself.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's a really interesting take on it. Yeah, kind of giving it back, so to speak. Yeah, I understand that.
Well, I think we both covered everything we want to talk about, and as I expected, we are almost at 2 hours. We're like an hour and a half here. Like this is kind of what I expected to happen.
We've covered a lot, and I think it's been really good because you've asked a lot of interesting questions. You've allowed me to say things that talk about things that aren't anywhere out there on the internet, that other people like you, people who are interested. Maybe not many, but people who are interested in Haunting of Herobrine, its history, and my channel and stuff. You've allowed me to tell some of those anecdotes and sort of give some of that insight. So that's been fun, and we've learned a bit more about each other as well, and our sort of the comparison between our experiences and approach to absorbing and creating media. So I think, yeah, it's been really fun, and I really want to thank you for creating this opportunity, because I never thought I'd be asked for an interview about my YouTube work. Maybe some of the tech stuff I'm doing, but not Haunting of Herobrine and Minecraft. So yeah, it's been such a unique experience. So thanks for that.
Of course, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for actually agreeing to it. I got a chance to actually geek out about Haunting of Herobrine with someone who actually knows and it also is just as passionate about it, obviously because you're the creator, but still, like, there's like, I have not really found anyone else who I could be like this in depth with it about. I have not it's been a great opportunity. I'm just so glad we actually got to do this.
I'm sorry it's taken so long, but like we discussed, we both know the trials and tribulations of free time and scheduling. So
yes.
And if you ever have any more questions, you can always do something else. So I'm always happy to answer it. Even though, like I said, I've sort of closed the book on it and pretty much, for all intents and purposes, moved on. It's it's always a big thing that took place. It was a big thing I created, and it always will be. I'm never going to be one of those creators who's sort of like, oh yeah, but that was in the past, I don't care about that now. That's that I'm embarrassed about it, I don't want to talk about that, I want to talk about this new thing that I'm doing. Like, that's always sort of my philosophy for most of life. That's a part of my past, it's part of what made me who I am today. So just because it was a long time ago and it's not something that people talk about much doesn't mean I'm not interested to talk about it and geek out about it. So.
Yeah, same philosophy for me. Like, I've privated and deleted some of my old videos just because like it was like really cringy, like 11, 13-year-old stuff. But aside from that, like that stuff, I've left up pretty much every other video I've ever made, just because like I also like this is where I started. And like you can see, like that way you can look and see, both learn from my failures, but also to see how much I've grown.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sort of in a similar way. There's been one or two videos I've looked back on and had to remove for whatever reasons, but yeah, most of the stuff from over a decade ago, if not all of it, is all still there. Is it anything amazing? No, not really. But I'm not gonna cover that up and hide it away or anything. It's still part of who I am and my journey, and so I want it to be there, and it's nostalgic as well at the end of the day.
Yes. All right, well, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who watched this. I hope you enjoyed this, and please, absolutely, go watch Haunting of Herobrine. Get it trending. Get it on the front page, finally. It deserves it so much. It's been a long time coming. The first film still hasn't gotten justice for being taken down. It's worth your time. It really is. The first film, yes, it shows its age, but the second film is just, it's phenomenal. Please give it if you are even slightly interested, I urge you to go give it a shot.
Thank you very much. It's great to hear your passion for it.
All right, well, I guess we'll sign off here. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time with whatever crazy thing I decide to make.
See ya.